When you say they've been interacting with us for hundreds or even thousands of years, I mean, that's a, fairly serious implication. Do you think that they've genetically manipulated our DNA? There are reports that people have heard or been told that from abduction cases.
They've showed me that, for lack of a better definition or word, hologram-looking visuals that led back human history all the way back to these ape-like looking creatures. So the impression I got and what they said as they were showing it was, yeah, we manipulated these creatures to make you who you are today.
On April 9, 1983, I was working on a documentary project for Home Box Office when I had a meeting scheduled at Curland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with an Air Force Office of Special Investigations agent named Richard C. Doty. And in the course of that meeting, he told me something his superiors wanted to share with me, which was an alleged, it said, briefing paper for the President of the United States of America on the subject of identified aerial vehicles. And he told me that I could read it, that I could not take notes, and I could ask him questions. And as it began with a historic summary of our government's efforts to retrieve crash disks and non-human entities, both dead and alive, going back before 1947, into at least the 1950s in the paper that I read. It discussed a live extraterrestrial biological entity referred to later by this man as EBA, who communicated to our government that its civilization had been involved with this planetary history for millions of years, going all the way back to the dinosaurs. And as startling as that concept is, that their interaction with the Earth had involved life-seeding projects, harvesting projects, mining projects, a whole series of things. And there was a sentence that said, these extraterrestrials manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. And I remember reading that sentence over and over and over again, thinking about the implications, and another sentence in that paper that said, all questions and mysteries about the evolution of Homo sapien on this planet have been answered and this project is closed. All questions and mysteries about the evolution of the human species have been answered, and the government has closed a project inquiring into that question.
Is our military involved or world powers involved with this agenda?
To me, clearly, yes. Probably the most remarkable experience that I ever had was I had gotten pulled or abducted, and I found myself out in an abandoned, what I thought was a carnival yard or something. But I was out in this open area. There were about a dozen beings standing in a semicircle. Now you got to understand, everything about this was different right from the beginning. I was not paralyzed. These beings were standing in a semicircle. They were huge, they were large, they were bigger than anything I've ever seen. And the first words, or telepathic words out of their mouths, was that we would have just given it to you, but you wouldn't have understood that way.
Meaning?
Immediately I figured that to mean the knowledge of what they were up to with abductees, or at least myself.
During this meeting, Jim was told that it was true that there was contact made between extraterrestrials and world powers. It was true our government was made aware of environmental problems. It was also true that, among other things, technology was given to us in order to stop using nuclear weapons. And according to them, we broke our agreements by making weapons and money out of the technology exchanged.
I think if you can take two generals or several generals and they're sitting back listening to this, and they're thinking, yeah, well, they're benevolent, all of this is well and good, but my God, these guys can come and go in our skies as they please. They can take people in the middle of the night, and there's nothing we can do about it. We need to buy time. We need to negotiate whatever needs to be done so we can catch up with this technology to defend against these guys. You know the military's going to think that way. It's their job to think that way. They're sworn to protect this country. How else can they think? Why didn't they tell the average citizen in that day that these things were happening? We were just getting out of World War II. Orson Welles' experience, I think, showed a lot. I think the closest thing to extraterrestrials in those days was a swamp monster relative to how experienced people are today. And of course, once again, the paranoia that these creatures can come and go as they please. What if, and I can see military minds thinking this way easily, and I don't blame them. What if we didn't agree with what they wanted to do? What could we do about it? So I think that in those days, they bought time.
The human psyche as a whole, the collective consciousness of humanity is beginning to respond to these stories and these events, and we are beginning to change our consciousness about this subject matter.
Not only has public awareness increased, evidence suggests that certain unnamed organizations who have knowledge to extraterrestrial existence would like to speak out publicly but can't for fear of prosecution.
I don't think the government fears so much that if it were to come forward with the truth, people would panic in the street, or the stock market would drop, the church would collapse. By God, we're human beings, we're resilient. Human beings have always been that way. I think they're more concerned with, gee, what are you going to do to me? Because for the sake of national security, I think a lot of human beings and honest, law-abiding citizens have been hurt, tremendously so. Perhaps plenty of lives have been lost over this secret. People have been maimed. People have disappeared. And this goes on and on and on and on for the sake of national security. If you provide an avenue for government officials, perhaps even private industry, to come forward and speak the truth about extraterrestrials without being prosecuted, a lot of the technologies that we have, because we do have technologies that can change things for energy, water, and all those things, that we don't need to hurt the earth to derive the things that we need. There's technologies that can overcome all of that without polluting the earth at all.
The Earth is on a catastrophic course right now with us at the helm, because what we're doing is lethal to the future of the planet.
Obviously, the fate of this host planet, then, is of concern to them.
This common area that you hear repeated over and over in the human abduction syndrome about why these interactions from a non-human intelligence is the focus on our environment, that we as human creatures are self-destructive, that we are damaging our own planet, and that in the process of this self-destruction of our environment, the implications for our future seem to be hanging in the balance.
What touched me the most was they were really focusing on the environmental problems we're having. They really see these things literally from a different perspective, which is from outer space, high technology, perhaps from other dimensions, and they really see it as, if we don't take care of it, we will no longer be here. That clear, cut, and dry. They tremendously focus in Central and South America and the rainforest. They made it crystal clear the burning of those forests has to stop. It's the heart, it's the soul, it's the lungs of the planet. It's the internal organs of Mother Earth. Sure, you can cut the hand off. We may be disabled, but we keep going. Sure, you can lose an arm. Sure, you can lose both legs. You can be just a torso and live, which I sort of feel that's what the Earth is right now, because I think she's having a tremendous time cleansing and recycling herself. But once you get to the internal organs, nothing, as we know it, will be here anymore. And we're invading that right now as we sit here, as I speak. They made that very clear to me.